This is a Louie T Network exclusive.
Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Draft Zone.
Could it be? Me, your me, Louie T. Welcome, you are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Louie. Thank you for joining me on the 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series, where your man, Louie T, aims to break down all 32 teams in the National Football League's 2016 NFL Draft using our baseball grade scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series. But you cannot tell how these players are going to pan out, and I don't want to discount any of these young men before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so, we will get a score for each and every single one of these players selected in X said team's draft. Tally up those scores, apply bonuses when necessary, divide by the number of picks, which will then yield us an overall grade for that team's draft. We'll then move on to the next team in the series picked by you. That's right, you, the viewer out there, are in total control, as this is the You Pick format, or as I like to call it, the Up format. Simply be the first to leave a comment in the comment section of this and future videos in this series stating two things: the phrase next and the team you'd like to see next. Don't care how you phrase it, and for the most part, we're pretty much done with this series. We've got a couple of teams left that have not been done, and so I thank you once again for making this series as successful as it's become. Because of you out there supporting this and watching these videos, you've made this series one of my best series on my channel, and I thank you for that. And so we're coming towards the very end, and the next team up in the series picked by you, the viewers out there, is the New England Patriots, a team that is hovering around the Super Bowl each and every single year, it seems like. And with Tom Brady at quarterback and Bill Belichick, I call him the B&B winning factory, in the office up there in Foxborough, they never, ever rebuild. They just reload. Okay, they just restock the cupboard with different parts that they need to continue the success that they've enjoyed over this 14-year run, 15. I think we're going into year 16 of Belichick and Brady. I think Brady came into the league in 2000, if I'm not mistaken. So this has been a very, very historically based connection with Brady and Belichick, and they're adding some more parts to keep this final run. I think Brady's got one more run in him, all the way to the Lombardi. And with drafts like this, I think this is one of the better drafts we've seen the Patriots put together in quite some time. And I think they got job, they got holes. They should have had a first round pick. And if the NFL were in the sport of doing the right thing, they'd give them a first round pick, an additional first round pick next year to coop for the one that they took away, because they were absolutely wrong. And they shouldn't have docked them a first round pick, but that's nor here nor there. Because of that, the Patriots had to maneuver to get themselves more value in the middle of this draft, which they had 3 third round picks. They had 2 second rounders, traded back, picked up some more value so that they could get more picks to kind of supplement this draft and overcome not having a first rounder. So I think they did well for themselves despite not having that first round pick that was stolen from them. So let's jump into the 2016 NFL draft of the New England Patriots. Now, second round, 60th overall pick, Alabama cornerback Cyrus Jones is the selection. 5'10", 197 pounds, tremendous athleticism, 4'4", 940. This is a guy that has really good agility as well to match with that athleticism, moves around very well in space. You see it when he's at his best as a punt returner, and we'll talk about his exploits there a little bit later on and what he brings to the table. Great in coverage when keying quarterbacks' eyes. The best example I can give you of this, playoff game versus the Michigan State Spartans. I thought it was the play of the game. Okay, it changed the face of that game. It took it from potentially a 10-3, maybe even 10-7 ball game at halftime to a 10-0 game that ultimately got out of hand, and they ended up shutting out the Michigan State Spartans in that ball game. He picks off Connor Cook right before the half. Like I said, to me, it was the game-setting, changing play of that playoff ball game on New Year's Eve. Connor Cook stares down the receiver. He's got his eyes on the quarterback, and he knows he's got a little bit of help, and he's looking at Connor Cook as he's in his trail technique. He keys quarterback's eyes. He sees Connor Cook coming his way. He stops. He plants. He goes up, elevates, snatches the football out of the air at the goal line, picks it off, and ends that first half. and the Michigan State Spartans come away with no points. Instead of getting at least a field goal, feeling good and confident about themselves going into the halftime locker room, they get blanked. And from that point on, Alabama ran away with that football game, blow them out, and ultimately go on to win the national championship. So Cyrus Jones, very instrumental in that run to the chip, and I think he does a really good job when he has his eyes on the quarterback of making plays on the football, has really good ball skills when he gets a chance. 7 career INTs, and this is a guy that didn't start for much of his Alabama career, yet he still came away with 7 INTs, so that tells you all you need to know about this guy's ball skills. He came to Alabama as an athlete, was a wide receiver, a running back. They would move him around, try to get the ball in his hands. So this is a guy with some ball skills, will catch it. If you make a mistake, he sees it, he will go up and make you pay for that mistake. Versatility. I think this guy is someone that at the next level probably going to kick inside as a nickel cornerback, but again, played out on the boundary. That play I just referenced against Michigan State, out on the boundary. At Alabama, he was more of a boundary corner, but he did play inside at nickel at times, especially earlier on in his career. So this is a guy with some experience both inside as a nickel corner and outside as a boundary corner. So you get some versatility there. You know how Bill Belichick loves his players, multifaceted, can do a number of different things. Not only can he do that as a cornerback, play inside and outside, but he also gives you some special teams value. This is a guy that ran kickoff returns early in his career, stopped doing that, but excelled at punt returning. And last year, this guy lit it up. 4 punt returns for touchdowns in 2015. Probably his biggest impact to this Alabama football team was on special teams. And I think that Michigan State playoff game was his biggest game of his career. In that same game, he runs back a punt return, shows the agility that I referenced, jumping back, making a defender miss, and then turning on the accelerators, getting up the field, getting in the end zone. So not only did he have a huge interception right before the half to keep the score at 10-0 and keep the momentum on Alabama's side, he also returned a punt for a touchdown in the second half to blow the doors off of that football game. So again, this is a guy that can impact the game from a number of different ways. So that's what the Patriots love to do. These are the type of players they like to select, guys that can help them in different ways. He will tackle. He's not afraid to come up, stick his nose in the fray, get dirty. Again, that's what you want. You play at Alabama for Nick Saban as a defensive back. Nick Saban, he keys in on those defensive backs. Him being a defensive back coach at heart, this is a guy that loves to really watch those defensive backs closely. You're going to tackle for Nick Saban, and so he does tackle. I talked about his special teams value. Don't really have to harp on that. So this is a guy that brings that to the table as well. Might have been the reason he's selected here in the second round, because you know day one, if nothing else, if this guy's not on the field as a corner, you're sticking him back there on punt returns, and he may be able to impact the game right away from that position before he even hits the field as a defender. You go to his cons. Doesn't look for the ball in man-to-man coverage. That's one of my pet peeves. Probably my biggest pet peeve with Cyrus Jones is that when he's in man-to-man coverage, he's afraid to turn around and locate ball, especially when that receiver gets on top of him and he feels threatened. He doesn't look back for the football. He doesn't feel like he's in a place where he can turn and locate. And a lot of times, if he just turn around, he'd get an interception. There are a couple of times when I'm watching him play in these games and I'm like, you just need to turn around. Against LSU, picked up 2 pass interference penalties in that game. Both of the balls either hit him in the head or in the back. If he turns around, he probably picks the football off, but because he was scared, he panicked, he didn't look for the ball, picks up some PIs. So that's something that worries me with him. I like him when he's got his eyes on the quarterback. When his back is turned to the quarterback, there's a problem, and it's a totally different story and a totally different Cyrus Jones. Torn labrum in his hip in 2014 cost him the final portion of that season into the offseason, was able to heal and come back and have a strong 2015 campaign, as we mentioned. But anytime I start hearing hip, I get nervous. It all starts and traces back to Bo Jackson and his hip that ended his professional football career back in the day. I look at the Ravens tight end Dennis Pitta. You seen Dennis Pitta lately? I haven't, and it's because he's had hip issues ever since he hurt his hip the first time. He's hurt it again, and next time you look around, he hurt it again. So I'm not a hip dude. You start, and I don't care how minor it is, you start talking hip, I get nervous. Good thing though, he was able to bounce back, have a strong 2015 campaign. So hopefully that torn labrum and any hip issues to follow have been put behind him and are in the past. But worth mentioning, 2014, not that long ago. And domestic violence charges dropped against him from last spring. Look, you know, the NFL, and look, society as a whole doesn't play with domestic violence. We know the NFL not playing games with domestic violence. keep your hands to yourself, man, especially when it's dealing with a female. You know better than that. You know the rules to the game. Play. That was dropped. I don't know the whole story, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just know that was something that was hovering around him as well. But in the second round, 60th overall selection, Alabama cornerback Cyrus Jones for me is a triple. This guy brings a lot to the table, and as always the case with the Patriots, the more you can do, the more likely it is you're going to be on this roster and be able to contribute. And right away, Cyrus Jones can wear a number of different hats for this Patriots football team, which will give him an opportunity to see the field instantly and have an impact in 2016. You go to the third round, 78th overall pick. NC State offensive lineman Joe Thuney is the selection. 6'5", 304 pounds. Thuney is a guy that I really like him on tape, man. And the first thing that comes to mind when I watch him is his first pro efficiency, man. He doesn't waste a lot of motion on the football field. He's not in a hurry. A lot of these offensive linemen, they're in a hurry. They're going somewhere fast, but I always say to myself, I always laugh and I say to myself, they're going nowhere fast. And what I mean by that is they're getting to the second level, they get there in a hurry, but because they're so out of control, they don't even block anybody. They miss the guy that they're targeting, because when you're 300 pounds, it's hard to start and stop 300 pounds. It just is, naturally. So they get going, they go to the second level, they're in a hurry to go get somebody, they run up and then that linebacker just darts out of the way, that safety darts out of the way, they miss them, and next thing you know, they're just turning around looking for somebody to block. They're in the way now, essentially. That's not the case with Joe Thuney. He gets to that second level and he's kind of just calm, and it's not a situation where he's not playing with enough sense of urgency. There's a fine line that he walks between lack of sense of urgency and not being in a rush. And he just does it so well. He gets to the second level. He always gets the man that he's supposed to block, whether it's the one right in front of him at the first level, or if he gets off the double team and goes to the second level and gets a defender. He always gets the man he's supposed to because he's always under control. Love his efficiency as a blocker. Has some athleticism, sneaky athleticism, 4.95. That's only a fraction of a second slower than his quarterback, which we'll talk about in the next selection. So this is a guy with some really good athleticism as an offensive tackle at NC State and projecting to be a guard at the next level. He mirrors well. That athleticism allows him to move side to side laterally and stay in front of defenders. I was impressed. Again, didn't know that Joe Thuney was going to be able to do some of the things I saw him do on tape, and I know some people aren't really that enamored with him. I was. I thought the tape was clean. I thought he did a really good job, and I thought he mirrored defenders very well. Effective on the double team and getting to the second level. I think he does both of those things well. Helps out on that double team, gets off of it. I talked about the efficiency of him getting to the second level, not being in a hurry, but not dragging ass, and getting there and getting in front of a guy, getting his hands on him and sustaining that block, which is a huge thing for me. He engages and sustains as the next pro. I can't stand when an offensive lineman engages a defender but does not sustain the block and gets stacked and shedded up, and boom, his guy's making the tackle. Pet peeve of mine, I don't worry about that with Joe Thuney. He does a great job of not only engaging, but staying with that block and sustaining it all the way throughout. Versatility. This is another, we say this word with the Patriots all the time. It is instrumental in becoming a Patriot and staying a Patriot. Versatility. What can you do for me? Okay? How many different positions can you play for me? We know that's the Patriot way. Joe Thuney has played all 5 positions along the offensive line at some point in his NC State career, whether it was center early on, left and right guard, offensive tackle, both left and right tackle, which he started left tackle last year for NC State. This is a guy that has been everywhere, and you know Bill Belichick and his group are salivating at the prospects of getting a guy that can do that at the next level potentially. You go to his cons, short arms may force him inside, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be the plan of action for Joe Thuney at the next level. It's just to have him play guard, but it's good to know that even if he's not a guy that you want to put at tackle, that's fine. He can play all 3 of the interior positions, both guards and center, and I think they're going to stick him at one of the guard positions and just leave this guy alone for years to come. He's that good to me. He's probably going to be in that mold of a Logan Mankins, going to be that dominant for you. I don't know if you're going to flip him like you did Logan Mankins for some picks. We'll see, but this guy I think has that kind of potential in him. Sometimes he moves faster than his feet. His brain is working. I told you he's an athlete, but sometimes he'll move his body, but his feet don't follow as fast. And because of that, he's out of position, and that's when he gets beaten. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And when he does get beaten, I think that's what happens, is that his body's moving faster. He's over here, his legs, they didn't follow him yet, and that's when he gets off balance, and that's when he's not in position, and that's when he gets beaten. Suffered from mononucleosis. Okay, so let me say that again, because I kind of jacked it up. Mononucleosis is what he suffered from in 2014. Sounds pretty bad, right? Sounds like some kind of immune deficient disease that's eating up blood cells. It's a over-aggressive white blood cell count, something to that effect, that makes you extremely tired and almost lazy to the point where you can't do anything. He missed 4 games in 2014 from that. I don't know if that actually can come back. I don't know anything about mononucleosis, but I know this much: it doesn't sound good. But it didn't happen in 2015. Let's hope that that's in the past. In any event, 3rd round, 78 overall pick. NC State offensive lineman Joe Thuney for me is a triple, man. I thought the tape was clean. I love what he brings to the table, and I think he's going to step in. And we know the Patriots struggled along that offensive line in front of Tom Brady last year. This is a guy that I would not be shocked in any event if this guy sees the field as a rookie and gets some meaningful snaps and ends up taking over as a starter in 2016 and moving forward. You go to the next 3rd round pick. We're staying at NC State. What's wrong with the Wolfpack? Okay, 91st overall selection, NC State quarterback Jacoby Brissett is the selection. 6'4", 231 pounds. This is a big guy, nice size for the quarterback position. Big, tough quarterback. He reminds me a lot of a Drew Bledsoe, of a Ben Roethlisberger, in a sense where it's just hard to bring him down, man. Guys are draped all over him, and he's still up, and he's still looking for a way to get rid of the football out of bounds so that he doesn't lose 9 yards on a play or 7 yards because he got sacked. Just a hard, tough guy to bring down. Huge arm. He's got a cannon, and I remember watching him at the combine and thinking to myself, man, he looked impressive. I thought he threw the football well. Kurt Warner was like, man, this guy looks awfully impressive, and I thought he threw the football well all day long. And that's coming from Kurt Warner, a 2-time Super Bowl MVP that lit it up. So I look at him and I say to myself, yeah, or 2-time league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP in Kurt Warner. So, and one of the best throws of the football most of us have ever seen in our lives. So that's really high praise coming from a guy like that. And when you see Jacoby Brissett throw the football, you say to yourself, yeah, he's got some stuff. Jacoby Brissett has a lot of the things you're looking for at the next level. Solid mobility. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's quick enough, athletic enough to extend plays, to get out of the pocket, to pick up some yards. It's 3rd and 6. He's quick enough to get 7 and get a first down. And like I said, he's a tough guy to bring down, so he's always falling forward a lot of times when he does run the football. So he's got solid mobility. Not going to wow you with his movement skills, but they're good enough, they're functional enough for him to create problems as a runner with his legs. Throws well on the move, and I think this is where his mobility really shines through, because they ran a lot of boots and play action fakes and a lot of nakeds with him, getting him out of the pocket, allowing him to either use his legs, you know, on some quarterback draws and things of that nature, or getting out of the pocket as a passer on these boots and these play action fakes to extend plays and throw the football out to guys out in the flats, tight ends, fullbacks, you know, crossing routes from the backside and receivers coming through. And he does a really good job of throwing on the move. Hard to bring down. I've already mentioned that, so I'm not going to continue to harp on that. Big guy, hard, solid to bring down onto the ground. Will ditch the football to fight another day. I think that's one of his strongest attributes in terms of being smart, not forcing the issue. Oh, it's a little bit of pressure, I need to get rid of it, I'm just going to throw it up for grabs. You see that with a lot of young quarterbacks. That's not the case with Jacoby Brissett. He's the guy that will dump the football out of bounds and have no problem. You look at his completion percentage and you say to yourself, 61, 62, not that great. But a lot of those incompletions are him just ditching the football and saying, all right, he probably could have checked it down. There probably was somebody open on the play, but I'm not willing to take a 7-yard sack to find out. Let's just ditch this football, get rid of it, and we're going to fight another day. We're going to allow our offensive coordinator to call another play, okay? Does a really good job of getting rid of the football and avoiding bad plays. Will stare down the gun barrel. He's not afraid to take a shot in the pocket to deliver the football. As a big guy, that's probably something that's innate within him. I'm a big dude. I don't feel like you can get me down anyway, so I'm gonna stare down the gun barrel, deliver the football. Playing a pro style offense, I can't harp on this enough. I try not to beat it too much, because a lot of times with these quarterbacks that come out of the spread in college, they're everywhere. And, it's almost hard to avoid. So when you do find a guy that plays in a pro-style offense, you get excited. I mean, it was fun to watch him on tape because I'm like, man, he actually is under center. He's actually taking a 7-step drop with a hitch. He's actually going play action fake, turning his back to the defense. He's doing all of these things that you see so infrequently in college football. It was a joy just to see a quarterback actually running the same type of plays that he'll be running at the next level on Sundays. So that's a big bonus for him as well. Analyzes the D and takes care of the football. I talked about him throwing the football away, not forcing the issue, and being a guy that is pretty smart, playing the pro-style offense so he's able to process what he's seeing. We'll talk about his processing skills here in a second, but he does take care of the football. 43 touchdowns, over 11 interceptions the last 2 seasons. So you talk about nearly a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. You take that all day long. You go to his cons. He doesn't feel the rush well enough or recognize pre-snap blitzes enough for me. There are times where the guys are telegraphing that they're coming, and he should be able to pick up on this and know where to go with the football, and he just doesn't. Against Florida State, Jalen Ramsey came off the corner like 3 times, and 2 of those times he hit home, and Jacoby Brissett, he's telegraphed. He's telling you he's coming. He should be able to diagnose that pre-snap and make the necessary adjustments to take advantage of that, and he just doesn't. Against Clemson, same thing. Corner blitz, and that guy was way out there. I want to say it was Tankersley coming off of the corner blitz, and he's way out there, and he comes and he hits home because Jacoby Brissett is standing back there, and he sees it, but he doesn't do anything about it. And you got to be able to see that. I mean, it was front side, at least the ones done by Jalen Ramsey were backside blitzes, but you still, in the shotgun, he should be able to see that. There was no excuse for either of these. And sometimes I don't think he has the necessarily feel that you need to have in the pocket that pressure's coming. You need to either get out of dodge or you need to throw the football, do something, don't just stand there. Sometimes I think he's oblivious to the rush, and not in a good way. I mean, actually needing to feel the rush. Don't see the rush. You want to be oblivious to actually looking at the rush, but actually feeling it. You need to be able to feel that there's pressure, sense it, get out of there if need be. I don't think he does that well. Misses deep ball opportunities down the field in 2 different ways. Okay, he overthrows deep balls all the time. He's got a cannon for an arm, but somehow, some way, he does not put it on the money, it seems like. And then other times, guys are wide open down the field, especially when he extends plays. Guys are wide open, and he just doesn't see them. And he doesn't take advantage of some wide open targets. I think about the Clemson game. That guy's running wide open in the end zone, and he just doesn't see it. Throws it to somebody else, tucks it and runs. And so I think there are some opportunities for him to get better in that way as far as hitting the deep ball, because in the NFL, I talk about this all the time, the separation between the good and the above average quarterbacks in the league a lot of times is, can you hit the deep ball? I mean, Ryan Tannehill, we're killing Ryan Tannehill. One of the reasons we're killing him is because he can't hit the deep ball consistently enough. And that's why Mike Wallace is no longer in Miami, because Ryan Tannehill couldn't connect with the deep ball with Mike Wallace. So if you can't hit that deep ball, you don't get opportunities very often in this league to hit the deep ball. So when it comes, you need to hit it. He was one of those guys that just didn't hit it enough for me. And finally, the last kind, he could be erratic. When those feet get moving, there's a little bit of pressure sometimes. And even when there's not, sometimes his footwork can get lazy, and he just will be high, and he'll be spraying the football all over the place. When he's accurate, he throws a tight spiral on the run, gives his receivers chances to run with the football after the catch. It's on the money. But when he's erratic, and he can be erratic, he's spraying the football all over the place. But this is a guy that Bill Parcells loved, and Bill Belichick, being a disciple of Bill Parcells, whatever Parcells says is gospel to Bill Belichick. And so I think that had a lot to do with why he's the selection here in the 3rd round, 91st overall selection. NC State quarterback Jacoby Brissett for me is a triple. He's definitely going to get a shot to go up against Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think if he wins out, they're going to flip Jimmy Garoppolo for some picks, most likely, try to move him, and he's going to be the new heir apparent. We've had about 4 or 5 of these guys, the new heir apparent to Brady, until Brady decides to play till he's 50, and then you got to draft another guy that will be able to be under contract while Brady is still playing. So we'll see if he's actually the guy in waiting when Brady does decide to hang it up. We move on to the next 3rd round pick. Remember, I told you 3 3rd round selections for this Patriots football team. 96 overall selection. Nebraska defensive lineman Vincent Valentine is the selection. No, not Final Fantasy VII. We're actually talking about a football player here. 6'4", 329 pounds. Physical at the point of attack. He will take on double teams. When this guy is mentally and physically engaged, and this is the next pro, he's a physical force when physically and mentally engaged. We'll talk about what that actually means a little bit later on. But when he is stimulated, when he is involved in the game from a mental standpoint and physically as well, this guy is tough to deal with. The play that comes to my mind is against Wisconsin. That's his highlight reel play, okay? When you see any cut up of Vincent Valentine, this is the play you're probably going to see first. It's a play where the Wisconsin's moving the football, they're inside the red zone, they're looking to go get points, and he takes the offensive guard on this particular play, obliterates him. And when I mean obliterate, I mean he literally takes him, picks him up off his feet, displaces him about 3 yards. He finally gets his feet back on the ground. Valentine throws him out of the way with one arm. He goes flying 2 yards out of the play and falls down on the ground. And Valentine then takes the quarterback and pile drives him into the ground for about an 8-yard sack. It is a beautiful play, and it is the absolute epitome of what this guy can be when he is physically and mentally engaged in a football game. We'll talk about what that actually means a little bit later on. Bull rush is his weapon of choice. That's his best move. At times, it's his only move. But when it's on, I just told you what he can do with it. when it's on, it's strong and it's all day long. Okay, when this guy is a physical force. Versatility. And again, we use this word with the Patriots a lot. Versatility. Dude can play the 3-tack, the 0-tack, and the 1-tack. They're going to put him in the middle of this defense. They're looking for a replacement. Still haven't found it for Vince Wilfork. They need it, and this is going to be the guy that I think they're looking to provide that for them, hopefully for them years to come. This is a guy that can play a number of different positions. I don't like him on passing situations necessarily until he gets into shape. And let's go to his cons. Work ethic and playing shape in question. I never want to hear about a guy's work ethic being in question. This is one of those guys that you look at him, and in 2015 I watched 2 games, and I told you that one of the games I watched Wisconsin. I think the other one was Iowa. I want to say it might have been Iowa in 2014. I can't remember. I might be getting my years mixed up. But I watched 2 games in 15. Wasn't all that impressed. Then I go back and then so I start reading up on the guy and kind of getting all of my information straight, and everybody's referring me back to 14. Look, if you really want to see what this guy's about, you need to go back to 14. And immediately, I see the guy pre-snap in 14. I'm like, wow, he looks so much different. He looks like he's about 312 or 14 pounds versus the 329 that he's at. And so he looked a lot sprier. He looked a little bit more physically engaged and in shape. And 2014 was by far his best season in college. It's not even close. Tackles, sacks, everything was it was better. Okay, he looked better. He was in more shape. There were more snaps on the field. Like, you watch his cut-ups in 2015 and you're watching for about 3 or 4 minutes max because he's not on the field that often. Whereas in 2014, I watched the game, he was on the field for about 9 or 10 minutes. So there's a huge difference in just what you can do with this guy when he's in shape versus what you can't. And he also had an injury, a high ankle sprain in 2015, which hampered him as well. So that had a lot to do with him not being on the field and not being as productive. So I don't want to not mention that because that would be remiss on my part. But doesn't use his hands or counters at all. I think if he would start using his hands more, this guy could be so disruptive. He just relies on brute strength and force, blunt force, brute strength all the time. Doesn't use a lot of technique, doesn't use a lot of hand usage, none of that stuff. He doesn't have any counters. He's not going with the bull rush and then spinning off of it or anything like that. It's just, I'm going to just try to win with my bull rush. And if it doesn't win, I just don't win. So I'd like to see him. And again, it's all about technique. That's something that you can work on at the next level with coaching. So we'll see if that happens. And stamina is the final con. Look, when he's in shape, when he's mentally engaged, this is a guy that we think can get the job done. From all accounts, this is a guy that doesn't love to put the work in off the field, okay? In the weight room, running and conditioning himself to be in the best shape he could possibly be in. This is a guy that loved to show up on Saturdays and now in this case Sundays and play. But all the extracurricular stuff that goes with it, the training that puts you in a position to perform at a high level on game days, he really doesn't care to be a part of that. So that's questionable at best. I don't like hearing that. And it affects him stamina-wise on game day when he's got to keep coming in and out of the game. The Patriots used to love Vince Wilfork because as big as he was, Vince Wilfork was playing 85-90% of the defensive snaps. You didn't have to take him on and off the field. You didn't have to yo-yo Vince Wilfork. This is a guy that you probably won't have to yo-yo if he does not get himself in the proper shape. In the third round, 96th overall selection, Nebraska defensive lineman Vincent Valentine is a double for me. I worry about the off-the-field work ethic issues, weight concerns. The one thing I can say, this is the type of locker room that can handle that type of player. And if there's any team that can get the most out of a guy that, when healthy, when engaged mentally and physically, is a beast, is the New England Patriots. We'll see if he conforms to the Patriot way as a third round selection. Go to the fourth round, 112th overall selection. Georgia wide receiver Malcolm Mitchell is the selection. 6 feet, 198 pounds. He's a good athlete at 4'4", 540. He can pick him up and put him down. He's tough as nails. Go to that Alabama game and he takes some shots in that game. The first one comes to mind. He's running a dragger across the field. Quarterback probably shouldn't have thrown this ball because it's late. And maybe Malcolm Mitchell should have sat down because Reggie Ragland is waiting on him and he tattoos him. I mean, paste Malcolm Mitchell. I mean, just depletes him. And of course he didn't catch the football. And it's a wet, nasty day in Georgia. And he just gets destroyed on that particular play. Down the field, deep ball. He knows he's going to take a shot. Malcolm Mitchell gets behind the corner. Safety's coming over the top. He knows he's going to take a shot. Still catches the football. Takes a lick from the safety. Holds on to the ball. He's a tough cookie, man. Which leads me to my next pro. Will catch it in traffic. Will go over the middle. He's not afraid. Even though he's sub 200 pounds, he's not afraid to go over the middle and make a play on the football. He's just not. He's wired differently than your standard 198-pound wide receiver. So that's going to bode well for him at the next level because we know Tom Brady not afraid to drill the football into tight spaces. You may take a shot, but Tom Brady still expects you to hold on to the football. And they won't throw it to you if you don't catch it. These quarterbacks that are established, they know guys that they can trust. And if I throw you the football and you let me down a couple of times, I'm just not going to throw you the football anymore. So he's a guy that you can trust him. You zing it in there, even though it's tight coverage and he's going to take a shot, probably going to still hold on to the football. 3-level wide receiver. I feel comfortable thinking that with that 4.45 speed, I think he can get down the field. I think he can win underneath. I think he can win the intermediate routes. I already told you, dig routes, things of that nature. He doesn't mind going over the middle of the field, taking a shot. And then he can get on top of you. Sometimes it's got to be done via a double move, a little bit of a stutter or a hitch. But nonetheless, I think he can win at all 3 levels of the football field. He's slippery and has the ability to get free after the catch and get yards after the catch, so he becomes a yachtster sometimes. I've seen him. I'm like, he doesn't strike me as the shiftiest guy, but somehow, some way, he's moving his arm. Guys trying to tackle him by an arm tackle. He gets his arm free, gets up the field, or he catches the football, spins back to the inside, and jukes a defender and gets up the field. Jumps out of a leg shoestring tackle. Just always seems to find a way to get 4 or 5 more yards after the catch when it doesn't seem like it's there. Versatility. There we go, using that word again. That's the magic key phrase with the Patriots. Versatility. He can play the slot. He can play out wide. He can move this guy around, which is what the Patriots do with a lot of their receivers anyhow. So that bodes well for him. And he will block. He's not afraid to mix it up. He'll block. He's not the greatest blocker in the world, but he will get in there and block. His cons. His size makes him a target to be pressed. Saw him get pressed at the line of scrimmage, and I didn't think he did all that great of a job getting off of that press coverage. So that's something to keep an eye on as he moves on to the NFL. Needs to be more proficient on underneath routes. I don't feel like he does a good enough job of shaking free on some of these underneath routes. They look real ordinary. He's not giving you the illusion or creating any illusion that he's trying to get up the field to push off a DB and kind of make them open up their hips a little bit. He's not threatening that DB enough to make them kind of turn and start getting ready to run, and that allows them to just come back to the football. I feel like as a DB, you look at him and you say, I don't really buy the fact that you're trying to run by me here. You look like you're powering down and run a comeback, and I'm about to jump that. Thanks for the tip, man. So I'd like to see him do a better job of running his routes underneath and even selling and creating the illusion that he's trying to get up the field and not tipping off when he's about to come back for the football. ACL tear in 2013 at the end of that season, or at the beginning of that season, I should say, cost him the entire 2013 campaign. And he'll be 24 because of that injury when the season starts. So he's an older rookie. That's not a big deal for me, but you know, scouts do look at things like that. But in any event, you know, the only time that comes into play is when he's looking for that second contract. That's when you start looking at you're 28 and you want how many years and how much $1 million? Nah, that ain't happening. So in the 4th round, 112th overall selection, Georgia wide receiver Malcolm Mitchell is a double. Really solid guy. This is what the Patriots do at the receiver position. They never allocate elite resources, 1st round, even 2nd round selections. And then when they do, there aren't guys that are game changers. Here's another one of those just type of guys that's going to come in. Brady's going to make him look great, and he's going to put up some solid numbers for the Patriots while Tom Brady is there finishing out his career. Go to the 6th round, 208th overall selection, Eastern Illinois hybrid safety linebacker. Kamu Grugier-Hill is the selection, 6'2", 215 pounds. This is a guy that I had a lot of fun watching the highlights on this guy. Not a lot of tape out there, so the little bit that I was able to scrounge up, man, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was fun. Explosive athlete. Explosive. This guy is stupid athletic, okay? And it just oozes out of every nook and cranny, and it jumps off the screen and said, gotcha, I'm athletic. God damn it. So, 4.42 40. All right, ran a 4.4 flat and a 4.44 Moses Malone 4.44 40 at his pro day. You average the two up, I get a 4.42. A lot of people are saying 4.45, whatever. It's still fast as hell. I don't really give a damn. All right, jumped a 10.9 broad and a 38.5-inch vert. My goodness, this dude is oozing with athleticism, dynamic burst and closing speed to the ball. Man, watching him get to the football is so much fun because he closes that distance between him and the ball carrier so quickly. He covers so much ground in such a little bit of time. It is not even funny, man. And he's getting in the backfield and he's disrupting plays. He's coming from the backside. He's a run and chase hybrid linebacker that shows the ability to blitz. And he played the majority of his collegiate career at linebacker. But the thought process is that he's going to move to safety. I'm not sure if the Patriots have that in mind or not. You know, the league is becoming a passing league. These smaller nickel linebackers coming down into the box. That's the new trend now. He fixed that mold to a T. And man, does he do it well. So I'm intrigued here. All right, I am intrigued to say the least. Knife into the backfield, make plays. He can also chase plays down from behind. I'm watching him against Minnesota. And they're down by the goal line, and Kamu Grugier-Hill is coming off the edge unmolested. They're thinking, we don't got to block this guy. He's not going to impact the play. And before the running back can even get to the line of scrimmage, he's grabbing him around the waist and slinging him down for a 2-yard loss. And I'm like, damn, really? He did it again in that same ball game, chased him down from behind, got him at the line of scrimmage for a no gainer. So this is a guy that you can't just leave him unmolested in the run game as a backside defender and say, we don't have to worry about him. He won't impact the play, because he will. He's that quick, that explosive, that fast. Versatility. There goes that damn V word again. There it is. Live and in color. Versatility. I talked about him being a hybrid player. Safety, linebacker, special teams, whatever you need. I think this guy can provide it for you. It's going to take time if you ask him to play safety, because he hasn't done that since high school. So if that's the case, if the Patriots do plan on making him a safety, it's going to take some time for him to learn that position. But if you're going to keep him at linebacker and carve out a specific package for him on 3rd and 7, he comes down into the box as a coverage linebacker, as a guy that's going to blitz and all of those things and be physical. Even on 3rd and 4, where it may be a run-pass option for the opposition, you slide him into the box and ask him to be a nickel defender. He could be really special in that role. We know the Patriots do some special things with special athletes. Just look at Jamie Collins and what he's done in the league since coming in with the Patriots. So this is one of those guys I can see the Patriots taking him, making him a chess piece, and doing a number of things with him on the football field. Special teams value, this is a guy that you stick out at gunner. Yes, gunner. At 6'2", 215, running at 4.42. You stick him at gunner, he's going to win 90% of the time and get in. And that's where he's going to make his impact first and foremost on his teams, on special teams. And that's going to allow him to get an opportunity to hit the field as a defender and have an impact there. You go to his cons, Classic tweener, all right? No position really for this guy right now. You don't really know what he's gonna be at the next level. 6'2", 208 pounds. He got up to 215 and he's probably still trying to gain more weight. Really don't know what he's gonna be. Classic tweener. Level of competition. He played at Eastern Illinois, where your backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo came from, which is probably why you're making this selection, because you had an extra set of eyes out there and a little bit more intel than everybody else did as to what this guy could bring to the table, his character, his athleticism, which you can see on tape, but it always helps when you get, what's this guy like in the study film room? What's this guy like in the gym? What's this guy like, et cetera, et cetera. You get that kind of inside intel from Jimmy Garoppolo. So this is a guy, level of competition though, not that great, okay? Again, you're talking about a guy that played in the FCS, so you know what it is. I'm not going to beat that horse. It's already dead. Stack and shed better. As a smaller guy, I did see him be overpowered at times by offensive linemen. He's one of those guys that, and this is the final con, I'll go ahead and use it. He needs to use his quickness to defeat blocks better. All right. When he's clean, he's a menace. He's a beast. But what happens when that fullback or that tight end, or that offensive lineman gets to you at the second level? He needs to find a way to defeat that block or extend your arms out, keep the distance between you and that offensive lineman so that you can stack and shed and get to the ball carrier. Those are things he'll need to work on. And that's all technique. Again, all the raw skills are here. You just need to work on the technical side of things. That's what coaching is for. In the 6th round, 208th overall selection, Eastern Illinois hybrid safety linebacker, Kamu Grugier-Hill is a double. I wanted to give him a triple so bad, but there's just so many questions that I have. And you know how I get when I got questions and I don't have enough answers, I get a little sketchy. Boy, this looks like one of those athletic freaks that could change the game at the next level if used correctly. Boy, I'm intrigued by this selection here in the 6th round. You go to the next 6th round pick, 214th overall. Houston linebacker Elandon Roberts is the selection, 6 feet, 235 pounds. Burst and closing speed to the ball carrier. Not quite the same as Grugier-Hill, but he can close on a ball carrier in a hurry. He runs a 4.6. He's not running a 4.42, but he's still going and moving at a high, rapid rate of speed, especially when he's unmolested, much like Grugier-Hill. You don't block this guy, you're going to have problems. He's going to end up making a tackle on the play. Instinctual. Because he's not as fast, his instincts take over, and that's what helps him do the things that he did, lead the nation in solo tackles this past year. That's because of instincts. That's because you have a nose for the football, which is the next pro. That's because you can sort through the garbage, which is the pro after that. These are all things that Elandon Roberts brings to the table. He finds his way to the football. He has a nose for the football. He's sniffing plays out. He's getting through the garbage, strifing, sorting through the mess, getting to the ball carrier, taking direct paths to the ball carrier, getting them on the ground. He's an effective blitzer, 6.5 sacks this past season. You see him shooting gaps, getting in the backfield. And again, when you don't lay your hands on this guy and he gets ahead of steam, look out, he's coming, and he's coming at full throttle. Productive senior year, and this is what got him drafted this year, okay? 142 tackles, 19.5 of those were tackles for loss, 6.5 tackles, and a huge INT versus Memphis. Had a pleasure of watching him in that Memphis game where he lit it up. He was everywhere. Had a career high, I want to say 18 or 19 tackles in that game. 10 of them were solo. I mean, this guy was everywhere. He was a menace, but the play of the game was the interception. They were trailing big for most of that ball game. Looked like they were going to lose. He picks off Paxton Lynch in the 4th quarter. To me, changed the whole complexity of that ball game. They go on a run after that pick, score a couple of touchdowns, end up winning the game by 1 in a thriller, which helped them win the AAC conference and then ultimately go on to beat Florida State in a bowl game. So this is a team that really relied on the production from Elandon Roberts, and he delivered leadership. This is a guy that the coaching staff rants and raves about his leadership qualities on and off the field. Just the model citizen, the type of guy you want in your locker room. These are the type of the players that the Patriots love to have in their locker room because it instills that Patriot mentality. And so this is one of those players that you just absolutely love to coach, and I think he's going to fit right in if he in fact makes this Patriots roster. Special teams value, if he's going to make this Patriots team, it's going to start on special teams first and foremost. You go to his cons, his size at 6 feet, 235, with no discernible traits. It's going to be hard for this guy to crack this roster if he's not lighting it up on special teams. That being said, I see a lot of attributes that I think lend itself to him making this football team and actually seeing the field and having an impact for this Patriots ball club down the road. He's OC sometimes. And what that means is he's out of control sometimes. He will get in the backfield unmolested, untouched, and he'll be so, whatever he does, I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever this guy does, he does it at 110 miles an hour. He's like a Tasmanian devil. And he'll run in the backfield and he'll miss. You know, he'll have a quarterback lined up and he'll miss. He'll have that running back lined up, 3-yard loss, and he'll miss. Clip his ankles but won't get him on the ground. Saw him do that a number of times. Fly into the backfield, you think he got a guy for a 5-yard tackle for loss, and he misses. All right, especially in that Memphis game. I told you he had about 18, 19 tackles. Could have had 24 tackles in that game if he would have got guys on the ground. So he will miss. He will be OC at times. But that being said, a guy had 142 tackles and about 88 of them were solo. I mean, he's not missing very often, that's for sure. But I did see him miss some tackles because he was OC. Finally, 1 year wonder. All right, 1 year of heavy production. I told you what he did in his senior year, but before that, it was nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. This guy was not a starter. He was not getting meaningful snaps at Houston. There was nothing here, okay, for Elandon Roberts. And then that senior year happened, and he got drafted into the NFL. So is this a 1 year thing, or is this what this guy is ascending to become? We shall see. But in the 6th round, 214th pick, Houston linebacker Elandon Roberts is a double. I see some qualities and some traits here that's going to allow this guy to not only make this roster, but stick on this roster and be a solid cog in this Patriots machine defensively moving forward. We go to the next 6th round pick, 221st overall, Illinois guard Ted Karras is the selection, 6'3", 307 pounds, I should say. This is a guy that I don't like, so I'm gonna go ahead and speed right through this breakdown because he was not impressive at all to me. 6'3", 307 pounds, powerful upper body. You do see that in him. He's got a mean disposition. He plays the game physical and nasty. I will say that. I'll give him credit there. This is a guy that's throwing guys on the ground, pancaking them at times, a little extra syrup on top. At the pile, he's being demonstrative, throwing guys around. Yeah, he's a guy that's physical. He's playing to the whistle, and sometimes even after the whistle, he battles. All right, he'll battle and give you everything he's got. It's just not enough. Not in my mind. Bloodlines. 7 of his siblings played in the Big Ten at some point in their careers, and his great uncle or great cousin, I want to say it was his great uncle, is Alex Karras, who was a football player, and a damn good one for the Detroit Lions back in the 50s and 60s. So there's some bloodlines here. You know, the NFL scouts, they chew that stuff up, they eat it up, they gobble it up. That doesn't mean a damn thing to me, especially when I didn't see it on tape. Because your name can only carry you so far. Let's go to his cons. Slow-footed, man. The first 3 plays I watched him in the Iowa game, they were all negatives, okay? First play, he gets beat inside. Second play, they run a twist, a TE tackle and stunt, and he didn't even pick up the loop and tackle end off the edge. He comes right by him, goes inside, forces the quarterback to throw the football before he's ready, and that's his responsibility. And the next play after that, he gets beat to the inside with just pure speed. So I wasn't impressed at all. He's unaware of what's going on. I just told you he lost against a TE stunt. On the outside, the end comes looping around, tackle goes outside. He's so worried about the tackle, the end comes looping around, and it wasn't even that great of a stunt, you know? And he comes twisting around, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? And that takes me to my next con. He's too helpful. He's over helpful. If I'm the tackle, I don't need your help. I got this, dude. You worry about your job because you're not doing a good job of handling yours. I got mine. I don't need your help. I got this. I don't need you coming over here and making sure that this guy doesn't beat me to the outside. I got the outside. You worry about the guy that's coming inside on this damn TE stunt. All right? You're just too helpful. As a guard, when you don't have anybody to block, yeah, go help out. But sometimes you got linebackers green dogging, you got guys coming late. You need to be aware of that stuff. He's just not. I saw too many guys coming up his gap where he should have been, and he just wasn't there. Doesn't sustain. He'll go up and contact the guy, but he won't sustain. His guy's normally the one making the play. 90% of the time, the guy that Ted Karras is blocking is a guy making the play. And ACL, MCL tear at the end of the 14 season. So that's something else to keep in mind too. I think it was like the last month and a half of the season he missed in 14, but he was able to get back on the field in 15 and have a solid 15 campaign, but I wasn't impressed at all. In the 6th round, 221st pick overall, offensive guard out of Illinois, Ted Karras, for me, is a single. Wasn't impressed. Don't see this guy making a roster. If he does, good for him. I just don't see him being a starter at the next level. He'll be a backup, but for how long, we shall see. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in his ability to get it done at the next level. You go to the 7th round in your final selection, 225th overall pick. Arizona State wide receiver Devin Lucien is the selection. First and foremost, never ever trust a man with 2 first names, okay? That being said though, there's a lot here to like. 6'2", 195 pounds, natural hands. Love the way he catches the football. I question whether Malcolm Mitchell has natural hands or not. A lot of body catches for him. I don't question that with Devin Lucien. I know he can catch the football with his hands, no problems, no questions asked. Deceptive speed and quickness. He's a 4'5", 240 guy, and I see him running, and I look and I say, he's the type of guy that you question his speed, and then before you know it, he's stepping on your toes and he's biting. Even we leave. That's the receiver rule. And I think he's a guy that he can lull you to sleep. Next thing you know, he done blown past you, and he's making a big play over the top. 3-level wide receiver, and that leads me into that because I think he can win deep. Not against the elite corners, but he can catch a guy sleeping and run by him and catch a deep ball. I like what he does underneath as a receiver, catching the football. Even when he's contested, a lot of times he's still coming down with the football. He catches the football in traffic. He's not afraid to go over the middle. Even though he's got a 195-pound frame, this guy is not afraid. And again, much like Malcolm Mitchell, he's the type of guy that you can send him anywhere and he can make a play for you and catch the football. And with Tom Brady, we know Brady will force some footballs in there. We're in some tight spaces. Got to come down with the football, and I think this is another one of those guys that will do exactly that. No nonsense after the catch. He's not one of these guys looking to juke you after the catch. He's not looking to set up a block or jump in the air and try to juke. Nah, none of that. He catches the football, I'm turning around and I'm getting up the field and I'm getting whatever I can get. Whether it's extra 2 yards, 3 yards, 7 yards, I'm getting up the field. And if you take a poor angle, I'm gonna run right by you and I'm gonna turn this 15-yard catch into a 40-yard catch. So no nonsense here. He can become a yachtster after the catch. Posted his best season of his collegiate career at Arizona State. This is a guy that transferred from UCLA, played the first 3 years of his collegiate career at UCLA, and then goes to Arizona State as a graduate and finishes up his career there and has a career best year, 66 catches, 1,071 yards, and 8 scores. Keep in mind, at UCLA, he totaled 58 catches all 3 years for about 500 and some change yards and only about 6 scores. 66, 1,071, and 8 touchdowns. The guy bested all of his UCLA stats in 1 year. 3 years of production smashed in 1 year at ASU. You go to his cons. Lacks home run burst. I don't think he has that burst that's going to scare cornerbacks. And the reason that becomes a problem is this next con. He runs ordinary routes. When I see him, there's no stick. Remember I told you no nonsense after he catches the football? You see that in his route running approach as well. When he comes up the field, there's no abbreviated step to the outside to make you think I'm about to run this corner route to bend that corner and give him that angle he needs to win inside. He's a cookie cutter route runner, okay? That if he's running a post, I'm running a post. There's no exaggerated step to the outside to give the illusion that you're going outside. There's no setting up routes. I'm running a post. Yep, gonna run my post. I'm running a dig route. Gonna run 10 yards, turn around and square it off. He's a real ordinary cookie cutter route runner. And when you don't have the speed to threaten cornerbacks, I'm gonna jump all over that. I'm gonna eat it up, yum, eat them up, yum, eat them. I'm gonna drive on one of those routes, I'm gonna pick it off because I don't think you can run by me. So I'm already sitting on anything underneath. And if you don't give me the illusion that you're doing something else and I can just run underneath, or I'm gonna take your cookies right now and eat them in your face. 1 year wonder. Is he a 1 year wonder? that's what you got to think, because I just told you 3 years at UCLA, next to nothing from a production standpoint. Then he goes to ASU and lights it up. And normally, when a guy transfers for a graduate degree, you either see one or two things happen. He either goes to lesser competition, as in the case of, say, Jeff Driscoll leaving Florida in the SEC, as tough as it gets, and then going to La Tech and playing in a lesser conference. Or you see a guy go and step up his level of play at a different school, like Mulaney, the receiver for Alabama, who was instrumental in them winning the national championship, coming from like Oklahoma State somewhere, which is not a terrible conference, but you're going to the SEC, it's the upper echelon, and helping them win and elevating himself. So that's generally what you see. He made a lateral step. He goes from UCLA in the Pac-12 to Arizona State, still in the Pac-12. So he went right up the street, said, all right, I'm going to still try to ball. And he goes out and bets all of his numbers. He has a 3-game stretch though. And this is what makes me say to myself, is this dude legit, or did he just get hot at the right time? He had a 3-game stretch at the end of the season that totaled 534 yards and 5 touchdowns. Remember, he had 8 touchdowns on the year and 1,071 yards. Half of that came in 3 games. I watched him against Arizona. That was one of the games I got to watch. Went off on Arizona for 190 yards and a touch. The next week against Cal, he had 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, 2 bills on those boys in a loss, in a shootout. And then the following week in the bowl game against West Virginia, 144 yards, so another big game from him, 144 yards and a touch in that ball game. So 3-week stretch, he goes off, high production, that boasts his numbers, bolsters them to the point where he's over 1,066 grabs and 8 scores. But is that who he really is? Or is he more of the guy that at UCLA underachieved throughout his career? We'll see. But I like where he is in New England. I think he's the perfect type of receiver for Tom Brady in this offense, a guy that can win underneath, get some balls, catch them. He does a lot of his damage on those crossers underneath, those drag routes. I think he can get behind the defense. He can lull some guys to sleep, get behind them. I like him, and I love his hands too. In the 7th round, 225th pick overall, Arizona State wide receiver Devin Lucien is a double to round out this Patriots draft. Let's total up what they were able to accomplish. 2nd round, Cyrus Jones, cornerback out of Alabama, triple. Joe Thuney, NC State offensive lineman, triple. NC State quarterback Jacoby Brissett, triple. You got Nebraska defensive lineman Vincent Valentine in the 3rd round, double. So is Malcolm Mitchell, 4th round Georgia product at the receiver position. Go to the 6th round, Eastern Illinois hybrid safety linebacker Kamu Grugier-Hill, double. So is Elandon Roberts out of Houston, the linebacker in the 6th round. Then you go to the 6th round once more. Ted Karras is a single offensive guard out of Illinois. And finally rounding out your draft, Devin Lucien, a wide receiver out of Arizona State. He is a double as well. You tally all of that up. You got 3 triples, nets you 1 triples bonus, 5 doubles, which nets you 3 doubles bonuses, and a single. You tally all of that up, it's 29. You divide by the 9 selections made by the Patriots in this draft. It's a 3.22 triple. So I thought this was a really good haul for the Patriots, especially being docked that 1st round pick. Thought they went out, they were very productive in the picks that they made. And I think these are guys that can come in. I like a lot of these guys to come in and contribute right away. Of course, Jacoby Brissett not going to help you anytime soon, but that could be a big pick for you down the road. A guy like Kamu Grugier-Hill may not help you right away, maybe on special teams, but I think he's a guy that you could move around. This is a really good draft. Even the receivers that you took, they're not household names. They're not going to be stars at the next level, but with Tom Brady and his efficiency, these are guys that I think can come in and be much better than Dobson and some of these other guys that you've gotten over the last couple of years that haven't panned out for you in New England. So that's going to do it for the New England Patriots in their 2016 NFL Draft. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the National Football League. Come back and join me as I continue to break down names. And now, in the National Football League, who is next? There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In The Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.
In the lab.